did last week. I covered Flower Girl by Kinoko Teikoku. It's a really great song, and I think I did a decent job on the cover, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So if you like stuff like that and you want a cover every once in a while, I can do that. Just let me know, like the video or something, and I'll know, or I guess just yell at me in the comments, like you do. But that's not why we're here today. Today, we are back to the review schedule with the new Natsuyasumi Band album, Phantasia. The Natsuyasumi Band is a four-piece kind of indie pop group, I guess, that has been just doing their thing for a little while now. This is their third album. And I first caught wind of this band with their second album, released, I want to say, in 2014. And it was pretty good. It was kind of mellow. The band is primarily piano, bass, and drums, and then kind of whatever their fourth member feels like playing. Like, seriously, he's credited with playing guitar and trumpet and steel pan, and he's even credited with whistling on this album. He's a man of many talents, and he just kind of plays whatever is needed in the song. And their last album was fairly mellow, but it still had a lot of energy to it. And it had some good songwriting and some good production, and overall, it was probably one of the better kind of indie pop albums of that year. And on this new album, they're giving us much of the same, but they're showing that they're not out of ideas, and their sound still has new space to work within. And they're still putting out pretty solid music. I like this album a lot. This thing kicks off with the title track, Phantasia, which has these kind of big strings in the beginning and like a really big drum set as well. The snare drum is really loud, and I really like the tone of it. And it eventually kind of dies down into a more subdued pop song that's primarily piano and bass and drums. And this song really kind of does what an intro song should do. It really kind of showcases why you should be interested in this band. There's a lot of really rich harmony between the strings and the vocals and the piano that all stack up and are really just rich with sound. Nakagawa Risa's vocals are very pretty. She has a very nice voice, really good just control of her tone as well. I think she'd be comparable to maybe Yakashimaru Etsuko of Sotaisei Ridon, but she's much more kind of lively than that. She has that kind of whispery, faint quality to her voice, but it's not quite to the extreme of Yakashimaru. The rhythm section is really tight. The bass and drums really sync up well. They really groove together well, and that is the case throughout the whole album. Really good rhythm section here. The drums are very lively, and the production's great as well. It's poppy for sure. It's very clean, but it's not neutered. It still has a lot of soul to it. They don't kind of take out all the feeling from it from production. And overall, it's just a really nice song. And really, all the rest of the songs after it for quite a while are pretty great. I really like the song Full Swing. It's very lively. It has a lot of energy to it, but it's also pretty mellow, and it's kind of jazzy. And it has like a trumpet solo on it, and some really just kind of lively horn hits throughout, and nice just vocal sound as well. The song's really good. There's also the song Mori no Yukue, in parentheses, more deeply, whatever that means. It's a really nice, kind of understated, mellow pop song. It has a really nice trumpet solo in it, and it gets this big kind of wash of reverb on the trumpet that is really kind of ambient and kind of ethereal for a little while. The song's really detailed. It has just a lot of well-used ornamentation in its instrumentation. And that ornamentation is what I think pushes this from being a decent album to a great album. The core of these songs are all piano, bass, and drums, and vocals, of course, and they have pretty good songwriting. The production is nice, and the vocals sound nice, and all the instruments sound really great together. But I feel that if it was just that, um, it would just be a kind of decent album. And it's the amount of detail that the ornamentation adds to these songs that really kind of pushes it over the edge into being like really good. Because I do feel that this album is great. Not without flaws, and I'll get into that later, but I think it's very good overall. But yeah, ornamentation. What I mean by that is like just kind of extra details. Like you might have the song and it's just piano chords with vocals and bass and drum backing. And that is a song, you know, you've got a full song. But then there's like these little trumpet flourishes in the background and little steel pan melodies that kind of plink along, and really kind of inventive use of like background vocals and really nice kind of just shifts in song structure that really kind of make these songs very rich with detail and a lot just to listen to. You can give all of these tracks multiple listens, and there's still more to kind of uncover and more detail to pay closer attention to. And it's just very clear that this band spent a lot of time with these songs just adding detail and taking away things to the point where when you get these kind of little flourishes of just extra stuff that could or couldn't have been there, it feels like it fits just perfectly. It feels like nothing else could have been there. It feels like a puzzle piece that just matches perfectly into the song. And there's no way that it could not be there because it's just intrinsically part of the song. It's not just some extra detail. It's all these details that add up to be really core to how the song progresses and how the song sounds and what kind of feeling the song gives off. Now, there are a couple of exceptions that I'll get into now with tracks 7 and 8, Grandmaster Memories featuring Yomeri Land and Lapis Lazuli. Starting with Grandmaster Memories, Yomeri Land is featured on here, and they are a all-female rap group. And that kind of naturally changes the tone of this song quite a bit from the rest of the album. This thing kicks off with a really kind of lively, kind of in-your-face beat that kind of almost reminds me of something that you might hear on like a Pizzicato 5 record. The verses are rapped and the chorus is sung. And despite the just kind of huge change in tone and energy that this song presents from the rest of the album, which I feel makes it a little bit jarring, all the parts are here to make a song that is just as great as the rest of the tracks on here, despite that. But maybe just as a result of having extra musicians here and having to kind of change things up to make room for them, this song never seems to reach the same level of cohesion between all the instruments that the rest of the tracks do. That feeling of a puzzle piece that perfectly fits into the song and nothing else could have been there but this one part just isn't there. It seems like they've tried very hard to kind of keep a through line of theme and energy, but the song just is a little too different from the rest of the tracks on here to really fit in. And it just kind of feels like that kind of change as a result of incorporating new musicians kind of just messed with the flow and cohesion of the band. And it's an alright track. Like, I don't hate it. It's not a bad song. I just feel it doesn't quite reach the same level of greatness that the rest of the tracks on here do. And I feel similarly towards the next track, Lapis Lazuli, which is a more traditional Natsuyasumi Band song in that it's all sung and it's piano focused, but there just doesn't seem to be as much detail put into this song. There are some nice vocal harmonies on it, and it's a decently written track, but it just feels kind of empty. There just isn't as much kind of ornamentation on this track. And this song, I think, kind of proves my theory that without all the kind of extra detail and time that was put into these tracks, if it was just kind of the core of the song and wasn't very refined, it would just be kind of okay. And that's what we get here. It's just kind of an okay song. It's not bad. It's all right. It doesn't ruin the album or anything. It's a 6 or 5 out of 10. You know, it's okay. But luckily, the rest of the tracks on here are all pretty great. This is a 12-song album, and 2 of them are okay, and the rest are all really good. Like, I mean, I'm really nitpicking. As a matter of fact, right after Lapis Lazuli comes probably my favorite track on the album, Summer Cut. This song starts off with these really kind of smooth electric piano chords that are kind of almost R&B-ish, and then this kind of bright lead synth comes in. And when the bass and the drums finally come in as well, there's like a few seconds where it almost feels like I'm listening to a future funk song. But things start to die down a little bit, and it kind of goes into a more normal trajectory for a Natsuyasumi Band song. And it's just a little groovier. I love the chorus on this song. It has a really beautiful harmony to it with all these kind of layers of vocals, and it's really just catchy as well. And though this song is like 5.5 minutes, it does not overstay its welcome at all. It stays interesting from front to back and is really just a solid song. It's got a great chorus, and it has some of the best English I've heard in a song all year. Here, I'll read you a little bit. This is pretty great. I pluck towels sometimes. It was your habit. When can I turn in that homework? What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. It's pretty charming, though. I find it kind of funny. And after the second chorus, it goes into this bridge that I'm going to play for you here. It's really cool. I want you guys to listen to this. Listen to how this starts off with a pretty normal groove. It's kind of funky, just a little bit. It's pretty smooth. And then this kind of, I think it's like a cowbell, sounds like it, kind of quietly comes in with this kind of opposing rhythm to it. And the synths start to build on this rhythm as well. And eventually the instrumentation wholly shifts into playing this new rhythm. And then it quickly peaks with these kind of sharp staccato hits that almost sound like something out of a Zazen Boys song. And then it kind of seamlessly transitions from the peak back into a more typical groove that then eventually rides the songs out. I'm going to play this for you here. It's pretty cool. just so cool. I just love the way it sounds. It really shows off how well written these songs can be, and it's just such a cool transition. God, it's so good. But yeah, there are more complaints I can make. Like, I think the song Hotaru is a little long, as it's almost like 6 minutes. But that's really not much of a complaint, as it's still a pretty good song. I just feel it kind of overstays its welcome a bit. But yeah, and there are more songs that I could geek out about. Like, I think the song Donuts is just one of the kind of most fun songs I've heard in an indie pop album all year. But I won't go into it. I think I've made my point. Um, I'm feeling an 8.5 out of 10 on this album. It's really good. It does have some flaws for sure, but I think it's probably the best kind of indie pop album we've had so far this year. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more from the Natsuyasumi Band. Uh, so yeah, that's me. Natsuyasumi Band, new album, Phantasia. It's great. I really like it. There are certainly flaws, but they are dwarfed by how good most of these songs are. Peace.